Coming up on the Paper Talk today, we're going to be talking about Marcus Rashford's Players Tribune interview. He's been chatting about whether people are right to question his commitment to the club. Let's get into it. Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm outside Old Trafford and the weather is absolutely lovely. Make sure you are getting your barbecues out later on this afternoon. There's a few stories doing the rounds that we'll get into. But first of all, I think we need to look at the Marcus Rashford interview, because that is all that anyone is talking about when it comes to Manchester United. And even when it's not Manchester United fans or pundits, everyone's speaking about the interview that Marcus Rashford gave to the Players Tribune. Before getting to that though, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 750,000 subscribers by the end of the season, and with your support we'll get there. Yeah, so Marcus gave this interview to the Players Tribune. Now, if you don't know about the Players Tribune, I know they got blue over then. It's proper windy, innit? Maybe it's just because I'm dead light. They've done a few interviews, in-depth interviews with players, where players open up and sort of talk about their childhood, talk about their family, talk about what they're going through, talk about what it means to be a footballer and all the rest of it. I remember them doing one a little while back with Romelu Lukaku when he spoke about his upbringing and everything, and the sort of the sacrifices he made and the stick he took and all that. And it's really good if you want an in-depth interview with a footballer. Now, the one they've done with Marcus isn't necessarily in-depth. It's not that long if you read it or you watch the video of it. It's actually quite short. But he's basically talking about some of the stick he's been getting recently and what the club means to him, what it means to him to play for Manchester United, and how he doesn't like the fact that people are questioning his commitment. And he's calling on people to have some humanity, and he's admitting, he's not perfect or whatever, he's made mistakes, but he's a human being and that he loves Manchester United. He talks about some of the sacrifices he made to play for Manchester United, the sacrifices his mum has made. He mentions his mum quite a few times in the interview and what she went through to make sure that he got to training, to make sure there was food on the table and all that other stuff. He also spoke about how, I think he was 11, he mentions the fact that he could have gone to a different club. He had offers on the table where they would have bought his family a house and put cars in the garage, I think he says, but he turned it down because he wants to play for Manchester United, and he says he plays for Manchester United as a fan. He spoke about playing against Liverpool and flying into a tackle on James Milner where he nearly got himself sent off because he was so emotional, and he had to sort of calm himself down and remember, just chill. I'm playing for Manchester United as a player, not just as a fan. I don't want to get myself in trouble and let my emotions get the better of me. Now, I think this is all admirable and commendable. I've got no problem whatsoever with a player speaking out. I know he's been getting a bit of backlash. I know in some ways this has backfired for him, because I've seen on social media and I've seen other places as well where people are saying, well, just shows on the pitch, he's doing this as PR. He gets a lot of grief, Marcus Rashford, anyway, of his sort of PR spin. People accuse him of that all the time, of he's got this PR team behind him and all this other stuff, and it's all about the PR. And I feel some of it is a little bit unjust, because he mentions this in his interview. Marcus, he's always had a lot of people gunning for him anyway. He just has. Also, he spoke about when, during the lockdown, he fed all those kids. He went up against the government. He made them do a U-turn twice, I think he did, when he had that campaign to feed hungry kids. And he always felt like there was certain people waiting in the wings to get back at him. And I think there's an element of truth there. But I also think it's fair for people to question a player when he's not performing at the levels that he can do. Now, we saw from Marcus Rashford last season 30 goals and I think it was about 11, 12 assists, or whatever it was. Over 40 goal involvements, I think it was over the course of a season. Some big goals during that period as well. And during his career, he's had some highs. He's had, I think, 20 plus seasons 3 times now. That's not easy, that. I've seen very, very good players at Manchester United who've struggled to hit 20 plus goals in a season. I think even the likes of, Mark Hughes and Eric and players like that, and Andy Cole at one time, have struggled to hit 20 goals. I'm not comparing Marcus Rashford to them. And what I'm saying is, it shows that hitting 20 goals isn't easy. You can't just take that for granted. He's done that a couple of times and hit 30 once as well. So we know there's a player there. We've seen him score against the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, PSG, Barcelona. He's scored in big games. But when he's not performing like he hasn't been this season, then people are going to question that. Now, what he's saying is people are questioning his commitment, and he thinks that's not fair. He says have some humanity. And a big part of the interview is him explaining what the club means to him, what it means to be playing for Manchester United. Now, people are going to look at that, and some people will go, all right, fair enough. Yeah, I think it is unfair to question your commitment or whatever. Others, and I've already seen people doing that, are clipping up the bit against Luton where Ross Barkley runs past him and saying, well, look, this is why your commitment's getting questioned, because you don't look like at times you're putting in the effort and the energy that you should be. Now, I've always said this, and I'll keep saying it. Marcus Rashford, one of my favourite Manchester United players, if not my favourite, for a multitude of reasons. For me personally, I love what he does on the pitch. A lot of the time, not all the time. Obviously, he's had a bit of a struggle this season, but I love what he does on the pitch and off the pitch as well, because that matters to me. I was impressed with the way he went about his business in lockdown and helped feed all them kids. I also like the fact he's from Wivenshaw. I know that might sound a bit silly, but all my kids are born in Wivenshaw, so I'm like, oh yeah, from Wivenshaw, I love all that. But I'll question a player when he's not playing well, and I've done that this season, because we know he's capable of more. And I don't think it's fair to criticise him personally or his family. He spoke about coming after his family. I don't think that's fair, but I think you have a right to say Marcus can perform better, and he isn't performing at the levels we've seen in the past. So I think, and he'll know this, he's not a silly lad, he's not stupid. He'll know that the way to silence the critics is by performances, and he's got the best opportunity he could have this Sunday at the Etihad against Manchester City. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to play against City, obviously it isn't, but if you turn up in that game, I'm not saying you have to bang in a hat-trick. If you turn up in that game, if you perform, if you show energy and effort, and you at least look like you're doing everything you can to try and get Manchester United a result against Manchester City, I think a lot of the doubters, and this is how fickle fans can be, not just United fans but any football fans, will go, okay, we can see that. You might notice a little edit point there. That wasn't where I messed up, that's where the rain got all over the lens and you couldn't see me. Come on, we need to see what I'm on about. I was talking about Manchester City and the fact that Marcus Rashford has got that opportunity this weekend to maybe silence some critics. Now listen, fans can be fickle. If you show a decent performance, even when you've been getting stick, they'll get behind you, especially against Manchester City. We've seen it with Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire was the most criticised footballer at United that I've seen in a long time. And he had a very good November. He put in some good performances. A lot of people went, hang on a minute, we're being a bit harsh on Harry Maguire. Look what he's done for United in the past. He has had some good performances. He's had some good seasons. He's obviously trying. He's putting in some performances that are, you know, at the levels we'd expect from a Manchester United player. Let's get behind him a little bit. And I think that with Marcus, there's an element of that now. There will be people that will just don't like him for whatever reason and will never back him. But me as a United fan, I've always liked Marcus Rashford. I want to see him succeed. I've been there for his entire journey, as a lot of you will have. We've seen him making his debut against Midtjylland, scoring those goals, scoring the winner in a Manchester derby, of course, scoring on his Premier League debut against Arsenal. We've been there for this entire journey. And there's always a little bit of a connection when you see players coming through the academy and you see them sort of blossoming and shining and doing well. You feel a sort of, you know, a closeness to them, and it has been difficult seeing him fall off a little bit this season, I'm not going to lie. We saw it under Ralph Ragnick, we've seen it again, but we know there's a player there, we know what he's capable of, and I think, yeah, we will get behind you, and all we've got to see from Marcus is see that effort, see him trying. You can't always score goals, you can't always get assists, I get that. No one's saying you can, especially against some of the teams you face in the Premier League. But if you're showing that energy and effort that you're speaking about, then I'm sure most of the Manchester United fans, if not all of us, will get behind you. He ended his interview where he said, if you back me, good. If you doubt me, even better. That's what he said. He said sometimes the doubters fuel him, and he's had a lot of doubters lately. But I've got no qualms and I've got no problem with backing Marcus Rashford. I think the camera nearly went now. We're going to leave that in. You can see what we're up against. We're up against the elements, me and producer Ethan today. Got no problem backing Marcus Rashford, I always have. I think you can criticise a bad performance, but going after him personally sometimes goes beyond the pale. But we just need to see performances from him. And if he does that on Sunday, I'm sure everyone will get him behind him. And I always say this about Marcus. People saying get rid of him, sell him and all the rest of it. I had a lot of that this season. Be careful what you wish for. You look at that right-hand side. Marcus on the left, look at that right-hand side. We have spent 200 million on right wingers. And our current right winger, the one who performs the best, is the kid who came through the academy. So there's no guarantee you sell Marcus and replace him with someone better. We just need to see some more consistent performances. We know he's got it in him, and I hope he can show us that on Sunday. Get involved in the comments. There you go, that's a word. Comments in the chat and let me know what you think about Marcus Rashford, what you think about his interview, and whether you think you're still backing him. I am. Are you? Other stories, because believe it or not, there are other stories than Marcus Rashford's Players Tribune interview. There's a little story doing the rounds about, I think this was a sort of graphic that someone had made, it might come from the BBC and it's been shared on Reddit, about injuries, an injury league table. Manchester United, I think, have had 29 players who've been injured. We're top of that table for a total of 979 days. I think that's not the most amount of days. I think there's other teams that have had players missing for more days, but it's the most amount of players. And I also think you need to look at the nature of some of those injuries in terms of which players are missing. If you're counting someone like, say, for example, Tyrone Malacia, well, we've missed him because we haven't got a left-back, that's not been as debilitating as the injury to Lisandro Martinez, who we've missed massively. So sometimes you have to scratch beneath the surface on some of these stats, but it does give you an impression of just how much Erik ten Hag has been struggling with injuries this season, how much this team has been struggling, and some of the key players as well. We have to remember that. Missing Højlund for some of these games, missing Martinez for a big chunk of these games, that has been massive. Even Kobbie Mainoo, missing him for a big chunk of the start of the season. People thought, oh, it doesn't matter because he's, well, not it doesn't matter, but it's not that important because he's probably not going to start. Well, I think he was going to, because we've seen since he's come back from injury, he's started practically every game and he's been amazing. He's even bagged himself a Goal of the Month nominee for February for his goal against Wolves. Also Rasmus Højlund, Player of the Month nominee for February as well. And Erik ten Hag, who's under all this pressure, Manager of the Month nominee. Who'd have thunk it, eh? United in crisis, and yet we've got all these players and manager who are up for gongs in the month of February. Whether any even win, I don't know, but the fact they're nominated shows it's not all been doom and gloom at Manchester United during the February month. I just think the Fulham game was obviously massively deflating and everyone sort of got hung up on that, but hopefully we can put that behind us. We've already got a win in the FA Cup. We've got obviously Liverpool coming now. We need to go to the Etihad. Marcus Rashford and everyone else who turns up for Manchester United needs to really get at City and show what we're about. I'm not saying go toe-to-toe with them, but just show a bit of fight, bit of spirit, and let's try and get a result, man. Come on. It's Manchester derby. You know what it's about. Anyway, we've had another edit point here because the camera nearly went. We're covered in rain. Poor producer Ethan here. He's got his brolly. He's getting blown away. We're going to wrap it up there. Make sure you're getting involved in the chat in the comments. Make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. We're going to be back later on today with the Brew, myself and Stephen Howson. So come and join us for that one. I've been Motty. This has been the Paper Talk outside a very wet and windy Old Trafford. Thanks for watching.